What's going on, Dodgers Nation? Doug McCain here. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DMac_LA. And as always, I'm joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Clint Pasillas. You can follow him at RealFRG. What's going on, Clint?
I am sitting here ready for some damn Dodger postseason baseball. We got to wait 5 days as of the time of recording this, and that's annoying, and that sucks a load of butts, but we got some good wild card games happening right now, so I'm feeling good. Baseball. You're the best.
Postseason is here. I'm like Michael Scott in The Office. I'm ready to get hurt again, right? I mean, the baseball electricity is in the air. We're here watching the wild card games, but lots to talk about with your Los Angeles Dodgers because it's been a historic season for LA. 111 wins. That's the most in the National League since the 1906 Cubs. The best winning percentage since the 1889 Super Balls at 625. But guess what, Clint? That all means nothing now. Throw out the records. It's all about what the Dodgers do in the postseason. And right now, the big talk is about the Dodgers postseason roster because, yes, this team has a lot of depth. Yes, there's certain positions and players where, of course, it's a lock. But on the margins there, on the fringes, there are some players to debate. And today we're talking about the Dodgers rotation and the Dodgers bullpen. But we're going to jump right into it. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to break down all these pitchers and we're going to go through the locks. And if you have any objections with any of these locks, I want to get your thoughts. All right. Some of these we're going to debate. But of course, Julio Urias, he's going to be the Dodgers game one starter. Dave Roberts said recently that, it depends on who has the best chance to come back later in the series and help this team. But we know that is a complete smokescreen. That's all gamesmanship by Dave Roberts. What are your thoughts on Doc trying to play both sides there?
Dave's doing what Dave always does. He's going to say a bunch of words it's partial gamesmanship, but it's really like, hey, man, I'm not going to tell people ahead of time. I don't think anybody in the Mets or Padres series right now really cares about what the Dodgers are doing game one. Everybody in the world knows Julio's starting game one. He's your ace. Dave has called him the ace of this staff this year. He's put together an ace quality, a Cy Young quality campaign in 2022. He's your guy. He's also not old man Kershaw, who's had a great year, but guess what? Kershaw's not the type of dude that you should be throwing out on short rest ever again in the postseason. Things went well. His 2020 postseason went well because he was healthy, because they didn't throw him on 3 days rest, 4 days rest. Julio, still young, relatively low mileage. He's the right guy to be starting game one, game five if needed, and hopefully you're able to set yourself, for the NLCS, getting far ahead there. But I like what Doc did because Doc did what Doc does. He says things for the sake of just saying words, man. It's great.
Yeah, I'm fluent in Doc, and that's exactly what he was trying to do. And Julio, he's earned it. He deserves it. A 1.27 ERA in his last 14 starts. Yes, the home run ball has been a little bit of an issue for Julio, but of his last 14 home runs he's allowed, 9 of them have been solo shots. So as long as it's of the solo shot variety, Julio Urias is going to be just fine. I have all the confidence in the world in the Urias. He is going to be your game one starter. Then as far as game two, you're going Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah.
Kershaw, last 7 starts, a microscopic 1.54 ERA. He's looked fantastic since returning from the injury. What are your thoughts on Kershaw right now?
This is a great version of Clayton Kershaw we're seeing right now. He's feeling confident in all of his pitches. He's throwing him as he wants, where he wants, when he needs to. He's spoken recently about this is the best he's felt like come postseason time in a while. His back injury happened really at the right time or right times of the season. Obviously, early on in the season, he had the hip thing. Then it became the lower back thing that happened in San Francisco. But really, it bought him time. They obviously didn't lose very much with Kershaw out of the rotation. You have 111 wins. You don't need, you're perfectly fine with the depth that you have. Sure, it's not a bunch of frontline aces, but they're able to withstand not having Kershaw for a month to make sure he's able to get right for this final month. And you plug him in as your number 2 starter, your game 2 starter. That is just a really, really good. Sure, you'd love to see it be Walker Buehler. These are the cards we're dealt, and it's a good deck. You got pocket kings right here.
Yeah, absolutely. You got a Urias and a King Kersh.
Yeah. Well, that's 21. I'm not going to hit on 21, but I also agree with that as well.
Look, the thing about, you guys know I'm a devout Christian. I'm a believer in Christianity. Kershaw was was made on the 8th day. But I haven't felt this good about Kershaw since 2020. In 2020, he was outstanding for the Dodgers, and a lot of the reason for that in the postseason was the fact that he had so much gas left in the tank. He had so many bullets in the chamber, and if you look at the innings pitched that season, 58 in the thirds, and he came through in the postseason. You had the big 13 punch-out game against the Brewers. As a whole, a 2.93 ERA for the postseason, a sub-2 ERA in the World Series, and this year, I just think it's so amazing that after all these years, you can really make the case that Kershaw is still the Dodgers' best pitcher, because when you look at the swing and miss, you mentioned the command. The command is right. The feel for the slider is there. For Kershaw, it's live low, live long, avoid the home run balls. Also, you see how confident he is in that curveball, in that Cooperstown curveball. And I think the fact that shows how good he's feeling physically. So I'm feeling great about Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah.
You got a nice two-headed monster there with Julio and Kurtz going in games 1 and 2. And then it starts to get interesting for game 3 because you got Tyler, the outs creator, Tyler Anderson, one of the best contracts in Major League Baseball this season. A lot of people talk about Aaron Judge's bet on yourself contract, but how about Tyler Anderson? $8 million this season. He's probably going to get that qualifying offer most likely at $19 million. How are you feeling about TA heading into the postseason?
Postseason is a different story. I do agree with the kind of low. I mean, there's rumblings in the organization. There's rumblings around baseball. You need to have strikeout stuff in the postseason. You don't feel as confident playing against some of the other, the best teams in the game, with a pitch to contact, with a feel changeup guy being your number 3 guy. I'm assuming in this situation, since we're talking about him third, I don't think he's starting game 3. I think that's Tony Gonsolin, but we'll talk more on him in a minute. All that said, I feel you got to feel good about this dude. He's riding high. His final start, I'm sure you saw the competition brewing between him and Clayton Kershaw. I heard about it where they were both trying to best each other in strikeouts, and TA went out, he effed around and decided to go strike out 10 just because he wanted to make sure he was able to strike out more batters than Kershaw in like 50 more innings or whatever. So it's kind of funny, but he's proven he can go for the cake and go for the punch, as Dave likes to say, when he needs to, but he's in a really good spot. I mean, the confidence has to be at an all-time high for a dude who Major League All-Star, National League All-Star this year, best ERA, best winning percentage, most wins of his career. How could you not feel good? Plus, by the way, you're pitching for the Los Angeles Dodgers, a team that's highly favored to win in this World Series. You got good question mark defense behind you, and you have an elite top 5 in your lineup. You got to feel good if you're TA. Where are you feeling on Tyler, the outs creator?
I'm feeling really good. You mentioned a career high 10 strikeouts. You saw him generate the swing and miss, and that really was my issue for the last month. You saw that whiff rate go down. You didn't see him miss as many bats, but I have all the confidence in the world. I mean, you talk about that changeup, the vertical movement it has. It almost reminds me of what Rich Hill was able to do for this rotation the postseason. A guy that doesn't rely on high velocity, just goes out there and gets the job done. He pitches well with the game on the line. Also has a lot of incentive to pitch well, knowing that he's going to be a free agent. If you had to pick between him and Tony Gonsolin right now, Anderson's going to give you the innings. He's going to eat those innings. I have a lot of confidence in him. Yes, of course, it's an unknown. You don't know how guys are going to perform in the postseason. Like I said, it's like the difference between a strong cup of coffee and a Four Loko with a 5-hour energy drink. It's not the same, but I have a lot of confidence in Anderson. But really the big wild card for the starting rotation is Tony Gonsolin. Now let's talk about the Catman, because yes, no matter what, he's not going to be built up to throw 5 or 6 innings. Ideally, you're looking at 475, something in that range. And he got a little update, so he missed over a month with that right forearm strain, but he made his return Monday in his start with the Rockies. The Gunslinger went 2 innings, allowed 1 run on 3 hits, no walks, and he recorded those 3 punch outs through 40 pitches, 24 first strikes. The good 1-2-3 first inning, uses his entire mix. You mentioned that on the show. You were looking for that. What are your thoughts on his outing there?
I think it's another one of those things. You play the cards you're dealt, you play the hand you're dealt. This is the best situation he can be in. We were worried. We can look at it sort of with the glass half full situation. He was throwing a lot of innings. He is throwing more innings than he ever has in his life. And he got a 40-game respite baked in there. you usually can't just magically do that. And we saw in 21 the issues of coming off the 60-game season, and we saw the issues for Julio. We saw the issues for Walker Buehler going from 60 to 162, and now you don't even see Walker pitching in the major league. So it is something of a blessing in disguise to have that break and have him come back feeling frisky enough. He ate his frisky feline mix or whatever the hell it is. The fact that he was able to throw a really good looking split finger fastball, all of my doubts are kind of squashed there. The biggest thing is really going to be the reps for him. There's going to be a little, not a learning curve, but it's going to be, now you're facing major league hitters again. You're facing the best of the best major league hitters again. He had a soft re-entry point going up against the Rockies on Monday. The next time you go, it's going to be the Mets or it's going to be the Padres. I feel good against both of those teams. Probably feel better against the Padres. He's faced them a lot. He knows them. But on the other side, there's familiarity. But I feel good about Tony. Where are you at on Tony? You gotta like the stuff in the situation. I feel like.
I think, as you mentioned, the splitter, he was able to throw that pitch. All three of his strikeouts came via that split change, but there were some concerns. He did look rusty there in the second inning. The velo was there. He did use that pitch mix. He does look like he is, at the very least, healthy enough to contribute in some capacity, and that's what I feel good about. But yeah, he did allow those 3 hits, and he was missing out over the plate. There was some hard contact there. Look, you see the potential for him to come out there and contribute. And a couple weeks ago, we thought maybe he won't return this year. So I definitely feel good about the fact that he is going to play a role. I think you'll see him used as a guy that is an opener. Maybe someone opens for him. You'll see him go 2 or 3 innings, maybe 4 if everything is going well. And this Sunday, he's set to pitch another sim game. And Doc has already said if he's healthy and ready to go, he's going to be on that postseason roster. But I will be honest with you, I was a little worried about some of those misses out over the plate, because that's been his bugaboo in the postseason. He's allowed 6 dingers in his postseason career.
They are bad.
His ERA just under 10. So the reality is with Tony Gonsolin is, yes, he wasn't used properly, but he's been terrible for the most part in the postseason. What are your thoughts on that?
Benefit of the doubt right here. This is the first time he's actually gone into October with a role. Granted, it wasn't set up in the best possible scenario. He did miss 40 games and come back to pitch 1 very short outing. So there's a lot stacked against the kid for sure. But I think if I'm Tony, I throw it out. Past doesn't mean anything here. It's all about the future, and you got to just go out there and try to get some outs. Get as many outs, like Dave likes to keep saying. Get as many outs as you can. Throw as long as you can, as long as they have the ball in your hand. Do what you can to build that bridge to the bullpen. What are your thoughts on Tony's, I guess, postseason history?
For me, he's a different pitcher already. He wasn't used properly, had that 16-day layoff, but also the difference then is he wasn't attacking the zone with the same gusto. And you're seeing him paint the zone, attack the zone. He's not afraid to pitch to contact now.
He's cat nipping at the strike zone there.
There you go, cat nipping. There you go. Yeah,
helping him out for the postseason. Make sure you guys are subscribed all postseason long, pregame, postgame. This is how we do it. Dodgers Nation TV.
Yeah, I mean, look, the thing with the great Catsby is it's always about throwing strikes. And the issue I had was he fell behind the count to 4 straight batters. And when he does that, sometimes he tends to leave stuff out over the plate when they're sitting on stuff, and you just want to avoid that if you're Tony Gonsolin. But I'm just happy about the fact that he is going to be in that mix, because the Dodgers, they need as many multi-inning guys to kind of fill in that 4-starter role. When you talk about Will Dustin may be able to go, Tony Gonsolin. So for the most part, I'm feeling good about the great Catsby, but definitely want to see him continue to progress, pitch well in that sim game, and just continue to work his way back. And I think the key for him too is a strong start in the postseason to get that confidence up, because that's what we saw this season. He came out of the gate strong, and he rode that momentum to a first career All-Star appearance. But next, we're going to move on, and those really are your 4 starters. I mean, there's really no way around it. I mean,
if you need a 4, or if you need that 5th guy, are you starting Heaney or are you starting D-May?
I'm starting Heaney. I'm starting Dustin May, and I'm letting Heaney come in and go a couple innings, face the order a few times. I think Heaney's going to be pivotal. It really is going to be a big X factor player. I mean, it's scary to think that we got to this part with the Heen dog, and we're going to talk a little bit about him. But I definitely think that Dustin May is a guy who we saw in 2020. He had his good moments and bad moments, and he was very young at the time. But yeah, we'll talk about Dustin May in a second. But I do think that I would like to see Dustin May as a starter and have an opener piggyback off of him versus the other way around. But